Clement time. So, it's Clement. Haven't done much with this for a while, so it's time I did something. And I've been doing a lot, as you can probably see. Where are we going to start? Where are we going to start? Well, I haven't finished working yet, so I'm going to do a bit more work in a minute, but I'm just going to bring you up to speed on where things are. So as you can see, I'm swimming. There's no windscreen. I've taken the windscreen out. In order to take the windscreen out, I had to brace the A-pillar here, because as you will remember from previous videos, the A-pillar has detached here and is almost attached on that side. So we're in this unusual position where the windscreen was actually holding the bodywork together. Great. Well, the frame at least, not the bodywork, because the bodywork has all come off. Haven't done anything mechanical with it, I don't think. No, don't think I've done anything mechanical with it yet. It's mainly been working around here and figuring out what I'm going to make and what I'm going to need to make to repair all this, because it is, well, I'll show you under here in a minute. Viewer discretion is advised. The roof is gone. Obviously that happened a little while back. So what I've started doing now is I've started making a new roof, because I haven't got money. So I'm going to make my own, which looks nothing like a DS roof. I'm not really, it's a jig. I'm not an idiot. Well, I'm making a jig because I have a new roof to go on here, or cant rails as they're known, and all the other bits and bobs and associated doings, but I need to know where they all go. And if I cut all this off, it's actually, could be very easy to get the new roof or the new camp rails and everything on, well, pissed basically. Like I could get them on skew width. So I decided I would make a jig, and then that kind of escalated, and now it's this monster which isn't finished. But what it will do is when I've finished it, I can unbolt it from the car, hang it up, do the other bits and bobs I need to do, because I need to sort these out before the roof anyway, and then when all the roof is chopped off, I can get the new bits, bolt them to the jig, bolt the jig to the car. In theory, other than one or two other little things I've got to align, it will just put it in the same place, as long as all the holes are in the same place. I hope they are. So I'm going to start today's little update, or today's, it's more like this month's, isn't it, or this by month. Yeah, I'm going to start this update with some kindness. I've received some kindness, like this. This is from a man called, damn, I should have really remembered what his name, Jeff, I think. Kind man on Facebook. He has sent me a glove box. He said I can have it, and he just posted it to me. Very kind. So that is the missing glove box from Clement's dashboards. There's like a door on there which was in place, but when you open it, there was nothing behind it. Now there will be. I'm giving strong feelings towards getting that flocked inside. But he also sent me this wiring loom, which is like the original wiring loom for the front of a D Super. It's not necessarily something I'm going to need, but he said you can have it because it's, you know, spare connectors and things like that. All very useful. I've also been spending money, which is, yeah, not that good. And I've got some components, some panels. I've actually got one of these on the car, but it's minging, so I thought I'm going to get another one. So that's the rear elephant ear that the fuel flap goes through. And then many pounds have been spent. Look, windscreen rail. So this, to be fair, it's quite an expensive piece of metal, but it does have a bend that goes through many planes, and it has these little bracket things in there, and that's what the bolts in the jig attach to. So I'm hoping these are all in the same place, because if they're not, I'm going to have a bad time. Yeah, so that and this, which is a side rail, sort of goes along the, no, that's that, there you go, hang on. Yeah, that's the right hand side rail. Yeah, so about £1,000, but you can buy this stuff. I mean, on one hand you kind of think, wow, that's a lot of money. But on the other hand, people are having this stuff made. You could make that, but you wouldn't make it anything like as good as it's meant to be, and B, you'd spend forever making it. So you can buy anything for these cars almost, except A-pillars. I'm struggling to find A-pillars, so I'm making my own A-pillars. But yeah, you can buy so much for them. Really lucky, because a lot of other cars you can't. So I've got a lot of metal work. There is also this. I've been doing some planning, and this is the windscreen channel guide, and this goes up. It's basically like, yeah, it goes up there. It sits inside or just above the outer windscreen guide, so there's like a channel that goes along the top and down either side, and the windscreen rubber pushes into that. The windscreen rubber doesn't go all the way around the windscreen, it only goes up there, along there and down there. And then along here there's a separate rubber which sits behind the windscreen glass, and then there's bolts with clamps, and it clamps the windscreen into the bottom, and in clamping it kind of pushes it up into this. I might put a bit of sealant in there with it because it just doesn't look very watertight, but then that's, well, maybe I'll try it without sealant first. I need new seal, because in order to fit this without wrecking this, or any more than it is already wrecked, I had to cut the windscreen rubber, which is because I couldn't get it out, because I couldn't get the glass out without bracing it. It's braced now and it's tight, but without that brace, this would just be like, yeah, like that. So that goes up on there, that will go underneath that rail that runs along the top, the black one I just showed you. And then there's another piece which doesn't actually have the same curve on it as this one, which I don't, unless I'm trying to fit it wrong, this could be a pain, because they're not actually the same radius. They're sort of not quite the same. So yeah, that's a bit of a bugger, but it might be that it doesn't matter. I think this goes underneath the top rail, if you like, behind the channel, and it's just a reinforcement, so it would just be stitch welded in, just to give it some beef. The only other thing then is these corner pieces here. I'll probably have to make these, unless that, I mean, that actually, it looks horrible, but that might be okay. We'll see. I can cut little bits off and shot blast them and see what comes back from the dead. I've also got lots of little pieces like this. This is the edge of the boot rail at the back there. Gutter rails, they're not expensive, to be fair. You buy the whole lot. I mean, I can't really figure out how it all goes on yet, but I'll sort that one later on. So yes, that's where we are with parts. These are going to be my new A-pillars, which are just bits of box section. One up there and one up there. They're thicker than this, and this is a channel welded in to some other pieces. The A-pillars are made of an outer piece, an inner piece, and then a channel that's spot welded inside. Well, that's so thick that it may well end up being just a single piece, because these are tough. Or I might skin it on the outside, I don't know. The beauty of this car is that the stainless trims and everything cover everything. So it's all going to be hidden, but I do want it to look decent. I've also got bits to do along here, so I'll show you around where we're at and show you how far we've got with the old ding dong doobry jig. That's it, a jig. Right, so we're looking around. So this is the state of the A-pillar, or the bottom of the A-pillar on the near side. This is the good one. That's the good side, because it's still connected. Yeah, this was being driven, don't forget. So yeah, the rails, you knew the rails were bad because you've watched all my previous videos. Of course you have. This bit, I can repair this. That's not too much of a problem. The rails, well, yeah. Basically, this thing here, now that I've made my little jig thing, well, nearly finished my little jig thing, and it is ugly. They're much stronger now than they were. So basically, I've got to make a new piece up here, and then a piece down here, and then these here, this weird channel thing, you buy these separately, they cost money, but they're a funny thing. You couldn't make it again. But they say to bond them on. I don't know what's going on. So, but basically this is where the door rubbers go, and it's a really strange design of door rubber. And I can't help but wonder if it's worth me just putting a return edge on here and just using conventional rubbers, because it will be a lot cheaper and easier. But we'll see. Bits of windscreen rubber on the floor down there. This is my potential bonfire hazard from when I'm welding. I mean, honestly, if you're going to go on the old health and safety rant on the comments, if you've got adenoids and you want to moan about something, just go and moan to someone else. I don't care. And then the offside, yeah. So this is some kind of gunk. I've left this on here, I haven't taken it off to show you. So this is what Clement was being held together with. Yeah. Someone spent a lot of money on Clement. I've learned about Clement. There's some yeah, there's some interesting things in Clement's past. Yeah, so as we can see, that's basically, that goo is just filling in a hole that is there because the edge of the scuttle is missing. There we go. So there's your A-pillar. So somebody knew that A-pillar had detached because they've just filled it full of gunk. So Clement just continued. Well, it's not Clement's fault, is it? But yeah, the car just continues to amaze. And then, see, that stuff there is gone off. So yeah, that's yeah, so not attached at all. So I've got this little piece of aluminium strip here, which is now holding all that in line. Over here we have filler has been used again. It's been painted as well, so this is recent. Whoever did all the grey paint on here has put filler in it and painted it. Nice. And the best bit about this filler is that it's soft, hasn't been mixed properly. So it's definitely filler, but it's just, I could make that into a little ball, look. See? So yeah, that's been done really badly. It's easy to see where it goes at the back. Well, not on this side because of the devastation, but on the other side there is a line just there, you can see it. So the front is seam welded here or here? No, here. Yeah, there's a little weld in. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Look at that. Ignore that. That's embarrassing. Yeah, there's a little like seam weld thing here. So that's where the side cant rails connect to the front. I don't think there's any world in which I'm not going to end up with a B pillar either side with nothing on the top of it, and an A pillar repaired eventually with nothing on the top of it. So yeah, we've got the filler there, and then you've got all this glue here, which has been put on because someone's just stuffed a load of plates up the side and then glued them. Lovely, lovely. These are the rails that are also cream crackered. So that's what I've bought new ones to replace, but that can come later. Obviously the roof is more important. So yeah, and I've bagged up the steering wheel because that's actually in quite good condition. So I think that's the pièce de résistance, the #1 part. The following material may not be suitable for sensitive viewers. I'm going to give you, it's up to you. If you want to not watch this bit, if you've got kids in the room, or elderly people with pacemakers, or people with, you know, iffy hearts, or people who are feeling a bit down already and kind of like they could be pushed over the edge pretty easily, don't watch this bit. So yeah, so we've got, ignore the bolt and the washer there, that was me. There's your windscreen shut. Oh. Oh, look. Someone has done the filling from underneath. So someone has had the windscreen out. Look at that. Someone's had the windscreen out and they've gone like that. Man, they've probably made the noises with the filler. And that is what the windscreen rubber was sitting in. So it was sitting in filler. Now there is every possibility, and I'd love to do it for comedic effect, where if I just gave this a judo chop, that this would break. But if I do that, there's a chance that this and the other A-pillar will fold in, and we don't want that. There's every chance they'll do that, because there's no strength at the bottom of them, so we can't do that. So, yeah, but that's basically, I mean, this is, I haven't got to dig the filler out. This is just scrap. Everything from there to there is absolute scrap. I mean, all jokes aside, right, all joking aside, that's appalling. Genuinely, that's horrific. I mean, whoever's done that, right, I don't expect they're going to see this, but if they do, you need to look at yourself in the mirror. Because you've not even, I mean, it had little bits of coat hanger in it. It could be the guy who had it before that died, admittedly, so he's not going to see this. And to be fair, if I'd known how bad this was, would I have taken it on? No. No. The only beauty of this compared to the SM is that I can buy these bits. With the SM, I can't, so I've got to make stuff, and the bits of this I'm making will give me practice making stuff on the SM. But yeah, it's just, this is an absolute, I mean, I could break it out, I could break it off. Yeah, it's, so basically you've got a fiberglass roof and some filler on the front of it. I mean, it is an MOT fail along the roof because the rails there are within 300mm of the seatbelt mount. So it would have been an MOT fail, but you wouldn't have seen it because it would have been hidden. Right, so quick rundown on the jig. I've got these little offcuts here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in that so that it can be mounted to this original hole here. There is one on the other side. That hole's meant to be there, one of the few that is. That will be bolted on here, and then there'll be a little metal bar that will just weld to this, and that will align, because this bit of the roof rail here isn't coming off, that's staying on. Once this is all done, this is going to get the treatment, but until it is, that and then that one over there and that one over there aren't going to move because they're part of this. Now, I don't think I need to brace that to the other side. I hope not. No, I shouldn't do, because that's there as well. So I'm going to take a chance on that. Maybe I should do these ones first for that reason. These ones are going to be a bar that goes there, well, a hole rather, that's drilled here and on the other side, a bar that goes forward and a bar that goes forward. Because what the problem I've got is if I don't align any of this, I've got my jig, and the jig will get all the rails in the right place, but it won't necessarily locate it on the car. So I'd have my shape, and I'm going to try those new rails in the jig in a bit. But yeah, I won't have a locating position on the car. So if I've got a hole here, 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 and here, mounting points, that will sort out the alignment and the tilt. That's the plan anyway. And they're all on different, well, they're not on different planes at all. They're pretty much on the same, but that's no good. That's just how it's going to have to be. Also, I've got these ones on the side here. There's a little alloy plate which is bolted to the top of the B-pillar, and then that angle iron there is bolted to the top of that, and that's welded to the jig. And the reason that's done is to align the top of the B-pillar with this rail, because otherwise there's nothing to stop that being in the wrong place either. And if I get the position of the B-pillar wrong, I'm going to throw the aerodynamics out and Andre Lefebvre will spin in his grave, and I do not want to be the cause of that. So yeah, that's what's going to happen. So that's going to be bolted on there. I had to use a double setup, so I had to, wow, that's close. I had to use this, there we go. I had to make this plate here and then the one above it and then bolt them together, and you're thinking, well, why did you do that? Because the pillar is at an angle. So if I'd had my plate come straight off the jig and go down, like that, and pick up the B pillar either side, which would have been better, I wouldn't have been able to take the jig out. I'd be stuck. So I had to do it that way. Yes, future Rich will be very grateful. So yeah, I think now it's going to be a case of hole, hole, bar, bar, and then yeah, plate here and on the other side, and then that's the jig done. And I can take the jig off, then I'll try putting the new roof rails in the jig and see how they line up and find out that they don't line up at all, and then get really upset about it. I've elected to change my plan. So the jig is coming on, as you can see, and it's quite intricate now. Look, it's got millions of little crisscrosses and diagonals and stuff. Some people will be watching this. Some might be watching this, especially if you're like people who are watching the C5 videos. Christ, like 3 people might be watching this. And you're going to be looking at this and you're going to be thinking, that looks awfully intricate and quite like over the top. It looks really like it's really strong. It's way stronger than the roof that it's bolted to. Yes, it is. That's right. But I was planning to explain this, and then I suddenly got on thinking on something else. So I'll explain it quickly first. The reason that is that when I take it off the car, it's strong. It ain't going to change shape. There is a risk that I take all the bolts out and hang it up on the wall, because it's big and it'll have to be hung up somewhere, and it kind of bends and deforms, or I knock it into something because I'm clumsy and something bends on it. And bearing in mind that this is everything, this is all the alignment at the moment, I need it to be spot on. So yeah, that's why it's so heavy duty. That's why it's so like over engineered, basically because I want it to unbolt from this and bolt back on and everything be bang on. But what I was going to do is take the jig off, because at the moment all the video is a bit of sped up footage, me welding and stuff like that, and setting fire to my shoes, and then just talking. But unfortunately, that's what you're going to get, because it's a vlog. It's a vlog. Wheeler Dealers is not real life. Things don't happen like that. They take years. So yeah, I've been the whole day just making the jig, which I'm now going to christen the MEGA-JIG. A little bit like the Mega Gamma, but a jig. The reason I'm going to christen it the MEGA-JIG is I'm going to take this jig one step further. I'm going to make this jig do absolutely everything. Every single piece that I'm going to make and fit, this jig will be able to line it up. So basically all these little window channel things here, which I may well have to cut off, and well, I won't have to cut this one off, but I'll have to perhaps take off this one and that one, because trying to leave this in place while I've taken off the rail is just not going to work. So what I'm thinking is, if I'm clever about this, and that could be tricky, I can get this jig to realign the window sill rubbers. I can get it to realign the A-pillars at the front there, which you can't see because I've positioned it the way I have. But basically the A-pillars, they're just shot. I'm just going to have to cut them off completely, so there's just nothing there. So this thing will adjust the cant rails. It will set the position of the top screen rail, I suppose you would call it. But there's nothing that's going to set the position of the A-pillars. And these are probably going to need to be cut out because they are shot. I mean, it's not too bad here, but that's the only bit that isn't. Everything else is just like that. So I can line it up at the bottom it's not actually supposed to be, I don't think it's supposed to be an exact right angle all the way up from the bottom there, because on that side it's twisted slightly, but that could be because it's made of rust and it's just buckled, I don't know. So I'm going to, for argument's sake, I'm going to keep it simple. If I have to lose a twist, I mean, it looks actually like it's lost a twist there. I think this is bent. I think this dips in. I think this is like buckled. But I can only go with what I've got, can't I? So yeah, what I'm thinking is chopping the pillar off completely. And if I make the jig so that it's got attachments that can be bolted onto it, so I can remove an attachment that aligns this part here. And the way I can do that is if I find these are what I'm going to make the windscreen channels out of, because although they're thicker on the outside, the internal width is the same as this, well, like within like 0.2 mil. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the front of it off so it's just three-sided, and it'll go, it's kind of there. But there'll be another skin that has to go up the side and form this bit. The bit inside is actually it's not horrendous. I mean, I can put my finger through it, but it's not horrendous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop the front off here so that I've got, where's that the front? Or maybe that's the front. Got to stop being sidetracked. Yeah, I'm going to chop one side of this off. And then I'm probably going to have to, don't really want to make it out of wood, because that's a bit Heath Robinson, but I think it's probably the only thing I can really use. Maybe fiberglass? What I want basically is something that can act like the window rubber in here, that can insert into there, and then that will align this. So basically there'll be a bar that goes across, and there'll be like a dummy rubber that's going to be about, I'll have it about that long. And that will set all the angles, all the planes that it needs to sit in will be set by that. So, but I don't know what to make it out of. I mean, yeah, wood might work because you can obviously rub it back until it's a nice snug fit, but yeah. So before I go chopping this off, I need to make those, and before I go removing this, I need to do those first, so that I then have a bit that goes in there and a bit on the other side, and a bar that comes off them, and then that bar will have attachments that bolt it to the front of the jig, the MEGA-JIG. Does any of that make sense? It does in my head. That jig here, you can just about see, the position of this is governed by that. So the position of that is fine. The position of the back isn't going to move, well, it shouldn't do, better not. So the jig is not finished. I've been here the whole day and all I've built is a jig. Haven't actually fixed the car. It seems like a lot of talking and a lot of, I mean, people will moan anyway, won't they? But yeah, it's basically a lot of thinking, but the jig is, the MEGA-JIG is nearly there. And yeah, basically, it's a lot of work. I mean, as I say, I've been on this today, since, apart from like stopping to have something to eat and getting distracted watching things on YouTube. I've been on this all day, and it doesn't look like a lot for a day's work, but then the majority of what you're doing when you're making something like this is the measuring and the planning and the thinking. The actual cutting metal up and welding it together that's not the time consuming bit. And that's why all of this work here is part of the rebuild of the car, because when this is done, it will make the putting it back together bit with the new rails and everything so much faster, way faster. To the point that, you know, I mean, I'll basically have to repair the tops of these because these are a bit minging on both sides. But I can basically crack on, get the whole lot back together. Then I can repair, after I've done the A-pillars, then I can do this back bit here. I've got to take the back window out anyway. Repair anything it needs doing around there. And then roof back on? No, I probably won't do it until I've finished everything else inside. It gives it lots of light. But yeah, the top will be done. And then, if you really, bearing in mind that most of Clement underneath is actually pretty good, and actually have quite a solid DS. So yeah. Right, MEGA-JIG.